Good afternoon and kind of evening. This is Brown at Eye of Brown, and today we're going to be talking about Happy Death Day. Now, this is a movie that I rented around the same time I rented Invasion, and I actually do need to them both because they're both a few days late. But I've been wanting to see Happy Death Day for a bit, because I saw the trailer a while back, and it looked like a rather intriguing hybrid of horror and comedy, and maybe a little bit of sci-fi because it does involve time travel. But at the same time, though, I never got around to seeing it until just a couple of days ago, and this was actually a good, fun movie. It tells the story of this college girl named Tree, played by Jessica Roth. Yeah, Jessica Roth. I hope I'm saying her last name right. But I don't think I've seen her in anything before, but yeah, she was in the movie La La Land, so some of y'all might recognize her from that. But anyway, so Jessica Roth plays a college girl named Tree, who, she's a sorority sister, very stereotypically stuck up, arrogant, and you get the idea that she's someone who's ticked off, screwed over a lot of people, and and as her day goes on, her birthday, it's actually her birthday, and so she's just saying, what's so special about my birthday? No, it's just an excuse to eat cake and talk BS, feel good conversations with family members that you don't care about. And so basically she's a witch with a B. So but then that evening, though, she actually gets murdered by a rather spooky looking assailant wearing this really creepy baby mask and hoodie, and so she gets killed, and so ordinarily that would probably be the end of it, or this being a horror movie, it might be something like she comes back as a ghost, or something. But no, she actually wakes up, finding herself alive, on the exact same morning of her birthday, but with all the memories of everything that happened. And so, at first, she's thinking, okay, did I just have this really bizarre nightmare? But then she starts to find out that no, she's kind of stuck in a loop, because, she starts, because she remembers everything that happened to her on that previous, day, which is the same day, but before she was dead. She's able to point out certain things or remember certain things, like sprinklers are going to go off here and get this couple wet. This fraternity pledge is going to fall down flat on his face, because he can't keep up with the 48 bottles of beer song, or however many bottles of beer song that the fraternity on the campus is trying to pledge him to. And just little things like that. And also the main thing is, there's a guy named Carter, played by Israel Rosegard. I think that's how you say his name. But anyway, yeah, Carter, though, is a guy that she had met at the night before her birthday. And apparently she had come on to him, and they went back to his dorm room, and everyone was thinking, oh dude, she's totally gonna get she's totally gonna do stuff of an adult nature with with this dude. And same thing with Carter's friends. But no, Carter's actually a pretty solid dude, because not that there would have been anything wrong if the two of them were consensual or anything like that, but the thing is, apparently she was very drunk that night before, and so yes, they went back to his dorm, but no, he made sure that, hey, you're drunk, you need to sleep it off. And so he just kind of looked out for her, and so basically a really cool guy. And so as this time loop keeps going, because she gets killed multiple times by the same person, but as this time loop goes on, she's able to convince Carter that something really bizarre and terrifying is going on with her. And after he comes to realize that, okay, maybe she's not crazy, because she starts pointing out certain things that are going to happen, that do happen. And so he ends up helping her out, and or trying to help her out, because they don't know who the killer is. And also, in the process, though, of this time loop, she starts to kind of change the person, or she starts to sort of, look back on things and be like, man, I really was a witch with a B, or I really am a witch with a B. I'm not a good person. And so she starts trying to, she doesn't know, how long this recurring loop is going to, go on for, because what's happening is whenever she gets killed, her body, internally, it's got a lot of, scar tissue building up, apparently, and, she gets weaker each time it happens. And so, she doesn't know when her last life's going to be. And, she doesn't know when the loop's going to end. And so, she and Carter, they're obviously, the question is, can they work together to find out who the killer is before he kills her for the final time? And this was a really good movie. I was very pleasantly surprised. I figured it was going to be, dumb, cheesy fun. Well, maybe not dumb fun, but kind of cheesy, endearingly cheesy fun. But no, this was actually a good movie. Because, of course, it's kind of it's a horror movie, but at the same time, it's sort of like it's a college comedy, a little bit of sci-fi, and or maybe low-key sci-fi, because it's kind of like a slasher version of Groundhog Day, the Bill Murray film, which is even referenced in this movie. But I really enjoyed it because the premise alone was intriguing, but the way they went about executing it was really well done. And they made it to where the character of Tree, as played by Jessica Roth, she's a character who goes through a rather believable arc in the movie. And even though the movie it has a lot of fantastical elements to it, like with the time travel and what have you, or time loop, and you really see her change as a person, and it's not something that happens overnight, as it were. It's something that happens over several of the same repeating days. And you actually see her gradually go from witch with a B to, hey, someone who starts to resemble a decent human being. And I really appreciated that you actually saw that. And sometimes you have a movie or a story where a person will be thrust into a situation, a fantastical or bizarre situation, and I mean the situation itself, I mean it's intriguing, but the person themselves, they don't change or evolve. And but you got some good writers on hand, or people know what they're doing when they're making a movie. Your character's going to have an arc. And the character of Tree, she had a very good arc, and you actually start to act like her, because initially she comes across as like someone who's going to be what you call the designated hero. Like, okay, yeah, she's the heroine of the movie, she's the protagonist, but if she's going to be the witch with the B the whole way through, it's going to be really tough sitting through it. It's going to be like, okay, the stuff going on around her is more interesting than her, just because of how rude and abrasive she is. But no, as she starts to change throughout the movie and kind of become a better person, you also find out some stuff about her personal background, to where you're like, okay, you can kind of see why she puts up, or why she sort of became like that. But then at the same time, though, as she's progressing into a better person, you start to like her more. At least, I liked her more. And the character of Carter, played by Israel Bossad, he was a really cool guy, stand-up dude. And I liked how, I mean, he was obviously a college student, but like he wasn't a frat bro, like Mr. wannabe alpha male, but at the same time, he wasn't, a limp-wristed wimp either. Like he was, he's sort of low key, chill, but he was smart, and he wasn't, like, on one hand, I liked how he didn't believe her right off the bat when she's trying to tell him what's going on with her, but at the same time, it was believable in that, as she's showing him proof that something's going on, he starts to come around. And so, regardless of how many times she's been killed off and how many times she meets him on the exact same morning, bear in mind, every time that this happens, she's the only one who remembers all this. But, she's having to kind of jump through hoops to, get him to remember, or not remember, but I'm sorry, but to get him to work with her and believe her. And so, and I liked how, that actor was able to play it, because, at first you're thinking, oh, this is going to be exasperating, going through the same thing again. But no, it wasn't. Simply, I guess, because of, just how likable his character was. And so, the two of them made a good team. And also, I really liked how, the movie, it managed to mix horror and comedy, rather well, because, when there are some really suspenseful moments when Tree is being stalked, or, you're thinking the killer is in one spot, and it manages to to maintain the suspense. But then it turns out, no, the killer was in another spot. So, just little things like that. I mean, if you're, familiar with horror movies, and you probably understand what I'm talking about, but they managed to actually make it suspenseful, even though, something's going to happen, you're on the edge of your seat. It's like, it's a fun kind of spooky, and plus it's not, nightmarishly scary, because, of this whole, time loop thing, and that's where, I guess, the horror, like, the horror is present, but it's not like you're going to be traumatized after watching this movie. It's more like, oh God, here we go again. How am I going to die this time? That it's that kind of, humor. And also, I mean, there's some really funny moments though, like, especially with her, prior knowledge, from the, going through all this stuff, she's, playing with, okay, this is going to happen, that's going to happen, or she starts, calling people out on certain behaviors that, she catches them in, or, she starts trying to, interact with people as she ordinarily wouldn't interact with in ways that, she didn't before. Also, it's kind of funny when, her and Carter are initially, trying to find out who the killer is. Like, they literally have a list, of people that she's, kind of staking out and checking off, okay, this isn't the killer, that isn't the killer. And whenever she's tailing someone, you see them, you see them doing something that's kind of like, oh, so that's what you do with your spare time, and so that's when it's like, okay, not the killer, not the killer, not the killer. And it's funny how it's like, one time she even gets camouflage and somehow gets a set of night vision, binoculars, and so they kind of, I liked how they sort of, played, have some fun with that. But of course, just whenever she finds out that, this person that she's not staking out is not the killer, then the killer turns out to be right behind her, and, ends up killing her in some, horrible way. And so, at one point, she turns around and there he is, or there he or she is, and then bam, tackles her into the pool and drowns her. And so she wakes up in the room again, and she looks up at Carter, who, mind you, is, just, is kind of, going through the same thing, except, he doesn't remember any of it, but he just, as far as he knows, she's waking up in his bed, and he's on the other side of the room because he slept on the other side of the room. And he says, oh, hey, blah, 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 how you doing? And all this stuff. It's just, your plan sucks. And he's like, wait, plan? What? And of course, then she has to go through and explain it to him all again. And so it's pretty funny. I mean, if you watch it, you'll probably, get why, some stuff like that's, pretty funny. But yeah. And also, when it came to the killer themselves, I, both in terms of like how the killer looked, as well as, how the killer behaved, managed to actually be a pretty creepy killer, and I liked how there were a lot of red herrings because that mask, semi spoiler, that mask, it turns out, is the face of the college mascot. And so, there are several moments where, along with Tree, you're thinking that, hey, we found the killer, but then, oh no, you're just, showing school spirit, and stuff like that. But, and they do the red herring bit rather well. And so, but naturally, when the real killer comes into play, the proverbial, stuff gets real. And so yeah, and I liked how, you're thinking, okay, a baby-faced killer with, Bugs Bunny eyes. I mean, you're thinking, okay, it should be ridiculous on paper, but you try having someone like that come after you at night, it's pretty creepy. And so yeah, I mean, the baby-faced killer, I thought was a nice little addition to horror movie slashers, and once I guess you find out who the killer really is, I mean, you have one of those moments where Tree sort of retraces it all in her head, and so you kind of realize, oh, okay, all right, that actually makes sense. And wouldn't have, I mean, and I love how they did that, too. I mean, I'm not gonna say who the killer is. It's just that they just did a really good job with it. And so yeah, I really had a good time with this movie. If I had to say there was anything that was kind of a detraction against it, it's just that I mean, it wasn't a big problem for me, but at the same time, I think it would have been fast. It would have been nice if they'd been able to figure out, okay, why is this time loop happening? Because it's happening, and yes, it's happening on her birthday, or whenever she dies at the end of her birthday, but you don't know why it's happening. You don't know if it's a curse. You don't know if it's like a random phenomena. And I mean, it's probably more like random phenomena. So I mean, I know there's a second Happy Death Day movie, and I don't know, maybe they explain it or something. But yeah. So I mean, they don't really address that, like the cause of it. But they at least try to explain, okay, this is what's happening to you. We just don't know why it's happening to you. So anyway, though, I mean, I don't think it was that big of a problem or anything. It's just some people might be a little annoyed that they don't actually explain why it's happening. But anyway, though, also I liked how the people who made the movie, if you look in the background in certain scenes, there was little shout outs to other movies that whoever made people who made the movie probably have fondness for, like in Carter's room, he and his roommate, they've got like some really cool old school 80s posters on the wall, and like there's a John Carpenter's or there's a poster for John Carpenter's movie They Live on there, and it's like, hey, nice, all right, nice to know that some people have some good taste, so yeah, and I guess on stuff like that you can tell where some of the the inspiration to make this movie came from. I mean, obviously Groundhog Day with Bill Murray, but just make it into a slasher movie, and there you go, Happy Death Day. And so, yeah, this was a good movie. I'll give Happy Death Day, 4 out of 5 stars. It was good. I'm very glad I rented it, and also, I might actually end up buying it too. Yeah, thank you very much for taking the time to check out my review of Happy Death Day. And y'all got any questions, comments? Please feel free to drop a line below. Let me know. Y'all have a good day.